Hi guys, today is gonna be amazing. Today we have with us Gary Turner, Mr. Blackstone Tek. So Gary, thank you for this interview. Thank you for being with us.
No problem.
Gary, you are the leader in the production of carbon fiber wheels. So who is BST today? How is the market? But please tell us how everything started.
Oh, how it started? I was just racing in Europe, mainly on the Ducati Supermonos, and the class was very competitive and very open. And with the rules the way they were, the Ducati had a small engine, but it was a good bike to ride. And when we decided that we needed to be more competitive, we always thought the wheels would be a good option. You know, as you know, when you hit the brakes on a motorcycle, you're simply stopping the front wheel. The fact that you have an axle and suspension is really handy. The rest of the bike is stopping with it. When you accelerate, hit the accelerator, you're accelerating the wheel. When you move, your suspension, everything relates around the wheels. So I started investigating the wheels at this point, and lighter wheels simply work. Cut a long story short, I was racing out of Holland. Funny enough, the South Africans had actually been making composite wheels already. So I kind of teamed back up with some of my fellow countrymen. And I had a way to make a monocoque wheel. They had been doing it in a slightly different way. So we thought, okay, let's rather talk and we can learn from each other. And in, I think, 2001, after 2 years of researching how to build a pre-prick monocoque structure, we started with the production 16 years ago. And today we have over 30,000 motorcycle wheels on the road from everything from Groms, Harley Davidsons, Ducatis, OEM, Norton's OEMs, and we work with several other OEMs. So I think in the near future, you will see 3 or 4 new motorcycles that will be adopting the composite wheels. I think when it goes one way, you don't go back the other way. I think there's some exciting stuff that will happen for sure.
Wow, so you make big numbers, so the market is prepared for this.
I think in relative terms, we're still maybe quite small. In composite terms, we're big. Yeah. So we just simply see ourselves as a better technical option. So we don't see ourselves as a carbon fiber wheel manufacturer. We simply see ourselves as a wheel manufacturer competing with what we believe to simply be a better engineering material. And you know, we are lighter, we are better, we pass all the tests. So BST itself is an ISO 9001 2015 company. We're audited by the German TÜV. As far as I know, we're the only company with ISO accreditation. Then we have separate accreditation from the OEMs. Once again, we're the only company that does it. And we're the only company that sticks strictly to the JWL OEM standards. So there are 2 ways of interpreting JWL, and we stick strictly to the highest level, which is adopted by the OEMs. For example, 150 kilogram static weight load on a front wheel means that you have to receive 375 kilograms of impact on a JWL impact rig. Yeah. If you look at some of our competitors, they're using 220, 225. Wow. So they're using a different multiple. So we don't. Our standards have to be in line with all the OEM standards. And as I said, the TÜV is our auditor for that. The Germans come and crawl around and make sure that everything is up to date. I think in that aspect, for sure, we're number 1, and we will stay that way. There's no doubt.
Yeah. So your wheels can be sold and used worldwide and to comply with all the regulation in all the championships, so they can
yeah, we and JWL compliant, and all as I can say is that there's 2 ways of interpreting JWL, and the OEM manufacturers accept much higher standards, so that is the one that applies to us. So we have no problem with OEM accreditation whatsoever, no problem with aftermarket accreditation whatsoever on our wheels.
Okay. Gary, what does it take technologically and financially to be a benchmark in a so highly specialized segment?
So as far as I know, we're the only pre-preg carbon fiber wheels. So pre-preg is where the resin is infused before, and we basically use heat and pressure to cure it. So we're much like the metal version of forging, as opposed to resin transfer, which would be like casting. So instead of adding resin to the system, we extract resin under heat and pressure. It's really what Formula One predominantly use. In the military and your aircraft industry, in that area, it's the predominant way of doing it. It ultimately gives you the lightest, strongest part. It's much more difficult to process, and it's much more expensive up front. You need a lot more equipment, like autoclaves, monitoring systems, and your carbon fiber is time stamped because of the resin is already inside it. For us, it's not a problem. We go through a container of carbon fiber every 2 months or something, so we never get into that. But you have to have a controlled environment. So although we make a motorcycle wheel, we simply adopt the aeronautical standards of making a wheel through the system. We have an integrated financial and engineering. So it matches every ply that we cut is matched, and we can trace it right through into the layup procedure in a clean room. We right through the autoclave processes are recorded. We know exactly where the wheel is in each part of the autoclave. Not that it was just in the autoclave. We know where it was, what port it was on, so we can monitor the heat cycle, the cure cycle, the vacuum, the pressure. So we know when the wheel comes out and it goes through its inspection process. We already know up front whether this wheel received all the right ingredients to move it further through the factory. So that's our chosen method. We believe in it. In some ways, if we're making it in mass production 16 years, so let's just say we know some tricks. So we can give you the good designs, as you see with the new Rapid Tek wheels and the 7 spokes. Our design restrictions are not the same as other people's designs restrictions. So I think it's just believing in something and just continuing through, push it through,
That's really impressive, Gary. And where does the carbon fiber come from?
So the same with our ISO system. We only use accredited suppliers. So we have a supplier in Germany, and we have a accredited supplier in Italy, and we actually have one in the UK. The theory is that if we run out of material in one place, that we've already made product from the other suppliers. So we have the sample products in-house. After they're made, they're accredited. The German factory burns down. We can go to the Italians. The Italians fall into the sea. We can go to the English, and hopefully between the three of them, we've always got a supply. So at the moment, a supply comes mainly from Germany, also accredited ISO supply. They give us all the documentation. It's the same with the people with our metal. They are certified. We get documentation on every bit of metal. The OEMs would ask for UT scanning on the metal for the hub material before we even start working on it. So the process is very well controlled. And we're starting now recently with RFID tags in every wheel, which transmit. So you can never lose the identification. Although you can't lose it now, you literally, wherever it is in the world, it's readable to us with a very cheap device. Yes. And the OEMs also like to record that.
Of course. What are the advantages of using a set of carbon fiber wheels in terms of riding sensation and direct performance on track?
When we design a wheel, we have our own testing facility. So within that facility, what we are doing against metal wheels and other wheels is we measure the natural frequency of a wheel. And we're the only, I believe we own the software because we sell the software. So when we bought our cornering fatigue machines, for example, we designed software that allows us to read the natural frequency of a wheel. So BSD understands that they're not just round and black. There's a difference between toughness, strength, and stiffness. And you have to make sure that you're meeting all those requirements to make sure that you've got a stable product that works in all environments, especially impact. So once you've got that recipe together. When we're designing, we go back to the cornering fatigue machine, and we can often adjust the ply, the layup, depending on the frequency that we're working with. What upsets a lot of race bikes often is the frequency change when you do something different to the bike. And a lot of people don't realize that if the frequency is out on the motorcycle, you've upset the bike. You'll get chattering and stuff like that.
Yes.
So that's the technical side of it. Once you've got through all of that, obviously we've got to go through the whole cycle of testing. And normally the impact testing is the big one. But we have margin in that. At that point, you simply have a composite wheel. It's much lighter than the metal wheels. The lightness and what we call the effects of inertia they work in the same plane. So they work in a downward plane. So if we're lighter, we should have less inertia. We do have less inertia, but our lightness is carried on the outer rim. So the inertia value, if we're say 10% light, I can tell you this with some racing stuff we've done at the highest level, that where the wheel is 10% lighter, on a front wheel, our inertia value will be 25% less because of where we carry our weight. And on the rear wheel, we would be 33% less in inertia. So inertia is our performance value.
Yes.
So our performance values, although we might just be that much lighter, we have a higher performance than simply the weight. So it's just simply standing on the bathroom scale and trying to figure out the weight difference is not the true performance value of it. So at the end of the day, I can say there's been 100 comparisons in the world, BST wheels versus this or that, and every single time we've won the battle of the bike is just better. So you brake later, you accelerate harder. If you put a bike on the dyno, we've done it a few times. I'm talking within 10 minutes, so all your variables are the same. The moisture is the same, and it's the same dyno. And you just we've done it with the GSXR as the last one I remember. And you put the same bike on, you change the wheels out. You get this horsepower gain of about 3 horsepower.
Yeah.
But of course, it's possible because you didn't do anything to the engine. So there simply can't be a horsepower gain because you've never touched the engine. The bike simply accelerates the wheel quicker. So the message from the dyno is that we have 3 more horsepower. So you simply liberated 3 more horsepower that were already available to you. So and in the old days on the 125s, the little 125s could get 9 kilometers an hour quicker down Valencia Straight. I mean, that's a number I remember from testing. So also with your suspension, you've got to realize a very heavy wheel coming up into your suspension. At a certain point, it's got to stop. It's got to come back down. A carbon wheel will track better. It simply will track the tarmac better. Depending on what your setup is originally, you may or may not have to do some adjustments to your suspension. It's not a given that you have to. But your suspension will simply track better. So you're going to brake better. You're simply stopping something that's a lot lighter with a lot less inertia. You're accelerating something that's lighter with a lot less inertia. You're simply moving it. So the big statement often is my 1000cc bike now is a 250 Grand Prix bike. You can search the internet yourself. You're going to get the full package here. If you put in better brakes, you brake better. If you put an exhaust pipe, you might get some more power. If you put in better suspension, you better suspend it. So, I would argue with you that carbon wheels are cheap. BST wheels are cheap.
Yeah. So basically, you have, apart from accelerating, that is it's a huge improvement. 3 horsepower is quite a lot just with the wheel. But you have much more control of the bike, so it copies the tarmac better, so you have this feeling of much more control.
Yeah, there is more control, and we've done tests in Spain with top riders. There's a published test in England where they got a British superbike team with their Öhlins guys at the track, and they managed, over the day they managed lap times that were a second quicker. Their first time out, they turned into the corner way too early. They're used to what they are used to, and all of us, their braking markers and everything change. They get used to it fairly quickly, but they literally tip in, pick the bike back up, have another bite at the cherry because they're used to what they were doing. They get very used to it extremely quickly. So, I don't know anybody that doesn't go quicker at the end of the day.
you're directly involved in the motorsport, of course, and motorsport for sure it is an important benchmark for you. How does it influence your development?
Well, the problem at the moment is that the World Superbike rules just simply state that whatever the bike comes out with, as the bike that's homologated, they have to ride with the wheels that are homologated with, or at least the materials. So aluminium will be predominant in World Superbike. But let me add that there's a good possibility this changes because it's a production rule. Okay, let's say it like that. It's actually far easier to overcome than MotoGP, for example. Okay. So we were, for some years in MotoGP, there seems to be some politics around why you can or can't use BST wheels. And not BST wheels, let's just say carbon composites in general.
Yeah.
It's difficult to say how political it is, but they come up with costings and all the rest of it. What I can say to you is this, is that we are busy working with a fully fledged MotoGP type wheel that simply is made to race. It doesn't, of course it has a heritage somewhere, but we use different composites. We're just dealing with a different way of making the wheel. And we can conform and pass all the tests. So we have some teams at the moment that are interested in testing. And I think the point really is, unless we go out and actually do it, produce the wheel, produce all the results, make sure that the costing is correct, the guarantees are in place, the technology, and present it. Nobody's going to do it for us. So, you can't go sell something you don't have, or you can't present something that you don't have. So we've simply taken the attitude that although at the moment in the MotoGP classes, carbon composites aren't allowed in the wheels, we simply are on a program presently as we speak to make wheels that will comply, and then test with the teams, get some support, and hopefully, technology has to move on. At a certain point, they might have World Superbike racing on composite wheels, but not MotoGP. It'll be an interesting discussion to have. There's no real reason for it, other than I just don't think it's been properly pursued, properly presented, which we can do. It's not the problem.
Gary, we met at EICMA last year, where you were present as technical partner for Arch Motorcycle, the exclusive motorcycle brand of Keanu Reeves and Garth Hollinger. So what an amazing experience. How that happened?
I did a TV discovery show. We've done a couple of them with God a long time ago. And, he was just happy with the way we handled everything. And Arch had been using our products for probably a decade or more. And they try to get some stuff done by other companies. And, in the end of the day, a big box arrived here at BST one day with a note on it, please help, we're not getting the quality. And that was some years ago. So we always did his wheels and then the other parts. And what it just boils down to is that there's a lot of companies. 30% of our income comes from engineering services, not physically putting something in a box. And we have quite a few high-level customers that are just not visible to the industry that we know, in the car industry, medical industry, military industry, just where we're solving. So Arch just simply leans on us for everything composite. If it's a tank, if it's a hugger, as you know, it's an entire frame, load-bearing frame. It's crazy turbine wheels. God's not easy on that. He wants what he wants, and he keeps pushing our button, to get sure that he ultimately. So we ultimately always get to what he wants. So if you see a piece of carbon on an Arch bike, it comes from here. There's no doubt about it. There's also, like on the Confederates, all their fancy wheels and stuff. The entire motorcycles were built by us. I don't know. There's a long list. The Norton fuel cells, for example, on the V4, the wheels, the fuel cells. We make 30, 40 fuel cells a month sometimes. We make arms, so.
Blown away by the wheel, the rear wheel that you brought for the Arch method.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a crazy design. That's just typical. You know, that's Arch. They just don't compromise. You know, I tell you what, I arm wrestle with him sometimes because I need a little corner that's just a slightly different because it makes it easier in carbon. I end up losing most of the time, and you know, I have to find a workaround to give them exactly, you know, what they want. But it works. You know.
But you come up with the idea, or they come up with the idea? Because
No,
was
no. It's their design. It's their design. It will be, from my understanding, 23 bikes. They might have to have one or two spares, but you know, that's it. That wheel would live for 23 bikes, and as far as I understand it, they'll kill it after that. So they don't hold back, I must say. You know.
are you involved in other prestigious partnership?
I mean, if you're looking at are we technical partners to people? Yeah, we're technical partners to a lot of companies, you know, all over Europe, in America. I mean, we're opening up an office in America soon, and we have BST Europe should be operational by January next year, because we've tested against some of the German standards, proposed standards, and we can pass them. So we've pre-tested. You know, also like those companies like Ducati and that, they use the German TUV to qualify what we say in our design, which is normal.
Yeah.
So I tell you, last year we probably tested 50 wheels in Germany. I think this year we've just gone through 9 or 10 wheels just recently. Although we have our own test facility here, we like to make sure that what we're doing conforms. We like to be a little bit ahead of that game, you know.
Gary, can we go through the range of your product? Can you show us something about the wheel?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if you get to see this, but you know, here we've got some Rapid Tek wheels that are actually got a gold tint to it. We call it BST ink. Here's a swing arm here that I think we're pretty famous for. Let me just try and get up and see if you can see some of the range here. You know, these are much more like the Harley Davidson ranges, the wide wheels with satin on them. I don't know if you're getting all of that. Actually, this is a car wheel. We do two different types of car wheels at the moment. There's another style of car wheel at the moment, OEM only.
Wow.
I think everyone knows the Superleggera wheels. They also, I see they put a bunch of our awards. We've won quite a lot of motoring awards, world, international.
Wow.
My favorite wheel is the 7-spoke. What's interesting about the 7-spoke conventionals, let me just see if I can turn that around without it falling off, yeah, is that we have a forged carbon hub. So the drive rubbers go directly into the wheel nowadays. We don't have attachments to your hub. We have the little Grom size wheels, they're little 12-inch wheel. You know, we've got the BMW R9T or the BMW the K1900s. Interesting here, if we look, here's our very first design. I think if we look somewhere, we'll see a 1980 date engraved somewhere on that.
Wow.
I have a Britain stuff at the back here. You know, I did do the Britain and some of the frames. So
Yeah.
it's very difficult to actually give you everything we do in one suite. It's just, it's a lot. I don't know, we have in excess of 200 fitments. I don't know how many sizes we have now. Fortunately, as a company, we can, you know, somebody sends us a design like Arch, for example, we can literally take what you've drawn on a napkin, we can produce all the CAD work. Once you've signed off, you like it, we can go through all the FEA, we can build an FEA model of that. Then we can tool it for you. We've got, I think, we run almost 20 machines that run some sort of CAD software from robotic arms to vertical lathes to machining centers with 2 meter beds.
Wow.
By one, you know, so we can take it, we can tool it, we can test it, we can paint it, we can put it in a box, so you can give us a napkin. We like to say we're really a one-stop shop. So our ability to design and all our sizes and our different stuff. It's just what we do. So, you know, I don't know. We just do it, and that's what we like.
Now that you were presenting the range, I was like a kid in a toy shop. I was. That's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's difficult to get everything in because over on that side we've got some automotive parts and we've got double-sided swing arms, but yeah.
We will come and visit you and we will do another interview.
Yeah.
So are you now involved also in the production of car wheels? Because we know you as a motorcycle wheels manufacturer.
Yeah, I mean, motorcycles, you know, that was just me playing on, you know, my racing days, my contacts. That's really what I love. I mean, that's you know, that's me. That's my passion. I mean, I still try and race in the off-road dirt bikes with my daughter as much as I can at the moment. I keep myself riding. I do a lot of our testing. You know, I like to put the wheels on. We track test. We road test a lot. I mean, I ride an old hypermotard, and my theory is because you can jump pavements, you can take shortcuts, and you know, I run the wheels constantly on anything that I ride.
You test your product
all the time.
Testing guarantee.
Yeah, I mean, besides some of the guys here race, and you know, we majority of us, I must say, some of the engineers don't have anything to do with bicycles. They're just purely technical. But then there are a couple of the young engineers that are involved in race teams and all the rest of it. I think the car stuff is that if we understand composites and we understand high precision, high manufacturing volume of composites. So yes, we do, as you see, 2 different styles of car wheels. We have 4 different manufacturers at the moment, smaller ones that biofit. Quite frankly, that suits us at the moment, just on production side. We do hold quite a few NDAs with extremely well-known car companies. So we're busy working through the documentation, design elements, and we wanted to actually be a bit more in the aftermarket in the car industry quicker than we are, but we kept so busy with just the smaller OEMs in that you know, it would be we probably be causing ourselves problems if we went too immediately into the aftermarket, because we simply wouldn't have the capacity to deal with the constant question and ranges that we're just not catering for at the moment. So we're just trying to get the OEM stuff under control, I suppose, and then we'll be good. But the design elements on it is what really is attracting the market. You know, our theory is this: we want to be a cross between Red Bull and Rolex. That we have such a good brand that's so strong, and we've got such a good quality. We're not going to pretend that we will forever be the cheapest. And I don't know that I'd want a 160,000 wheel order from Mercedes-Benz. We want to make sure that the product stays extremely high-end, extremely well-designed, and looks extremely good. We don't want to cop out on easy processing. It's got to be 100% technical correct. We work very hard to make sure that people like things that look nice.
Yes.
You know? So that's what, you know, we understand that. You know.
I think you are.
No, you wrote an article, something about what I do, twist carbon fiber at my will or something like that. I think one of my worst traits is sometimes I need to say no to people like God and Arch and that, because, you know, people just give us these technical composite problems to solve, and we like to do it, and sometimes it costs us a lot of less sleep. But it works out, you know. We've got a good product, we've got good numbers. We're coming out with a new Harley Davidson, our second Harley Davidson wheel. So we're coming out with a pure race wheel. And then we're coming out with a remake of the 5-spoke, so that the technology is updated to the forged carbon hubs and all the rest of it. We will get through all of that between now and then we've got something really special at Eichmann next year. Something That's crazy. So not this year we're at EICMA, but next year there's something super crazy for EICMA next year.
Wow. Okay. So we are impatient now.
We'll be in EICMA this year. We're in a much better position than last year, and we should have a new Harley design if it's just one of the wheels to confirm the design to the public, and then we'll push through for the new Harley range, and then next year, as I said, we will update the 5-spoke. It's a really cool thing we're doing with it, and then as I said, we've got this crazy thing to happen next year at EICMA.
Where do you see BST in the incoming years? You did motorcycle, you're doing cars, what else?
We make 2 separate bicycles as well, so we have a new technology. We should have we've been contracted to make, I hope I'm allowed to say it, but there's the remake of the Lotus bicycle. I don't know if you know it was very famous. It held the world record, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. And there's a remake of it with new technology, and we were commissioned to make that bicycle. And so we are busy with it now. We actually should have the first ones out next week, I think. We're literally busy with the first ones now. We've already done the forks. And we have a mountain bicycle contract, which is also very exclusive. We're using some very cool technology on it. That's why we got the contract. We have some Formula One coffee machine things we do. There's some furniture stuff we do. But, fundamentally our brand is on the wheel. So where will we be? We hope to have an office well, we are working on an office in the United States and in Europe at the moment to carry on dealing with the engineering services. So as I told you, 30% of our income comes from engineering services, and we just want to have local numbers so people, it's just easier. It's the ease of doing business, I suppose. Yeah. Even when we sell the OEMs in Europe at the moment, we offer delivered prices, and that just to make it easy to do the business. So I think you'll just see us I think we'll clean up our range. You'll have 3 different sports bike wheels to choose from for us that have updated technology. And we'll have certainly 2 Harley Davidsons. The new Harley Davidson's also 2-tone type wheel. And you'll have that next year. So I'd like to extend the Harley range as well to 3. And then the car wheel range will extend to, there's 4 or 5 designs, but it'll take us quite a while to get through that. And then in the background, we'll just keep doing what we're doing with, as I said to you, we are a facility that is used for other products that are not necessarily BST branded. So we'll continue doing what we do, And
you're doing very well.
Thanks.
I want to thank you very much for your time, and
sure.
You are a true inspiration.
Thanks, man. Do we see you at EICMA this year?
Yes, of course.
You're going to learn some more Afrikaans. I'm going to test you at EICMA, then I'll throw a few words your way and see if you get it right. We're in the big hall now. I think we're in the same hall as Ducati and KTM and that, so, we'll have a new vehicle on there as well, I think. So we're working on it.
Gary, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And see you at EICMA.
Thanks, Cheers. Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.